Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello, and welcome back to Joe on Joe Extreme. Man, I'm happy to be back behind a mic and recording again, guys. It's actually been about 3 weeks or 4 weeks since I've actually recorded. So I'm so excited because this week we've got one of you out there, guys. We've got a fan of the show, friend of the show, someone calling in from Phoenix, Arizona. He is a listener and new friend of the show, Adrian MacCarthy. Adrian, welcome to Joe on Joe Extreme.
Hi, how's it going?
Hey, Adrian, welcome, man. Welcome to Joe on Joe Extreme. So you're calling in from Phoenix. You're a school teacher.
Yes, sir.
Teach the 6th grade.
Yeah, at Roadrunner Elementary School.
Oh, that's awesome. Is it named because like the Roadrunner ran around in the desert?
That's what, yeah, there's 2 of them too, so they get the 2 schools confused. So whatever, I live right in between the 2, so I'll say I work at Roadrunner and they think I work at this one.
And is the other one just called Wile E. Coyote? I mean, how do you have 2 schools and not just call one Coyote and one Roadrunner? How is that even a thing?
Do not know.
I think like the next PTA meeting, you need to go there and be like, listen, guys, we all know what we're thinking. Everyone in this room knows what we're thinking. The issue we have to address today. And the issue is, why is the second school not named Wile E. Coyote?
Probably.
I think so. It would set up good competition between the schools, because the Coyote's always trying to catch the Roadrunner.
That's true.
So you teach the 6th grade. Do they give you like battle pay for that?
No, but it's a lot easier than teaching the 8th grade, a lot less hazardous.
Yeah. Well, it's like 6th grade is like when they're starting to go through all the hormonal puberty changes and starting to become monsters, right? And by 8th grade, like 100% of the class is a monster.
Yeah, I was said at some point in about 7th, 8th grade, the aliens come, they take the kid's brain, they bring it back sophomore year of high school-ish, but they totally change. But the 6th graders, I taught 8th grade for 6 years. I taught 5th grade for 3 years, and then they moved me up to 6th this past year. So this will be my 2nd year in 6th grade. And a little bit more, I've seen that's different. But they're not as bad as, 8th grade's a whole other animal.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean to walk you down a path to trash talk 10-year-olds. How old are they in 6th grade? Are they 10 or 11? And what is that?
11 to 12, I think.
11 to 12,
and then 11 to 12, and then 5th grade they're 10 to 11, and then
Well, so, I didn't mean to invite you to trash talk 12-year-olds.
Oh no, they're great. I've got some stories, but that's a whole other.
Yeah, that's a different podcast entirely. Now, so you're a lifelong G.I. Joe fan?
Yes, sir.
All right.
My first 2 Joes were Flash and Clutch with the Vamp.
Oh wow! So you're OG.
Yeah, born in '78, so I was right that target demographic age.
Oh, that is perfect. And now, was this in Phoenix, or have you grown up in Phoenix, or did you move there later?
Originally, we lived in Simi Valley, and then we moved to Arizona when I was 5.
Okay.
So in Simi Valley, I had those first 2, and then we moved out here, and I think I got the '84 lineup.
Yes, Simi Valley. That's right. That's right nearby last week's guest, Troy Smith.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've only been there once since we left, I think, and we lived on Daphne Court, a little 2-story house. That's about all I can remember.
Okay.
And
so you started with the early Joes. Did you then go into like all things Joe, cartoon, the comics, and did your toy collection grow?
Yeah, I feel like the toys hooked me because I fondly remember playing. I had Vamp, Clutch, and Flash, and doing little adventures with them everywhere. And then, I started watching the cartoon show, got more and more stuff. And then I think I was shopping at Toys R Us one day. And do you remember those packs they had like a bunch of comics?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And one was a G.I. Joe comic, and I didn't know such a thing existed. It was issue like 114. I got it signed by Larry Hama, that issue. And I opened it up. It's the one where they're going after the Saw Viper because he killed the other Joes. And I read it. And I'm like, I was like, oh my God, they killed all these people. What the heck happened?
Mm-hmm.
So I got me hooked, and I started going to our Thrifty by our house at their spinner rack, and that got me to a comic book store, and I've been a huge comic book fan since.
That's amazing. That's amazing. My comic collection also started with G.I. Joe and has branched off since there. That's so cool. Do you still have Clutch and Flash, your OG guys? Those
No, I
those
don't.
oh, you
Yeah.
don't. Do you
I
know?
don't have any of my originals, and I wish I
Oh.
could get. I've got to go back and rebuild my O-ring collection. I showed you some of my modern figures, and being Arizona, those O-rings would just snap in the heat.
Yeah. Do you have do you remember what happened to them, or was it like you put them away and then years later they were just gone, like your parents got rid of them or something?
Yeah, I'm sure I played with them till their crotches fell off. They had no thumbs. Like their knees were. I remember
Playing with something till the crotches fall off is a different kind of
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah. But I remember playing with them till they were just beaten to oblivion. I mean, I remember a few that I lost. Like I lost a Dusty in a toy box or a sandbox at school one day. I lost just random stuff, and then just
Dusty in a sandbox.
Yeah.
I feel like you didn't lose him. I feel like he was just like, I'm home. You Thank you for bringing me home. I'm going to he would have been camouflaged too.
So I blend in, and I've been to that sandbox since, hoping to find them. But that's 30 something years ago. So there's no way.
I had one figure that I lost in the backyard. There was, and I was really anal retentive about it, and I was very protective about making sure my toys, like when I put them away, I made sure I always had to have all the guns. I remembered every gun at the time. I don't remember it now, but I had every gun that everyone had, and every helmet, and all. They always had to go back with the right stuff, right? So there was there were two figures that I personally was responsible for destruction. One of them was Breaker, and one of them I think Breaker I left in the driveway, and I found him broken, and I eventually had to get a replacement. And then the other one was in the backyard, and I'm trying to remember who it was at the time, but I remember I knew the last time I saw him was in the backyard. And I'm not kidding you, well into my teen years, I would always, as many times that lawn's been mowed, I'm sure it's long gone. We had a dog, he probably ate it. I would always look around and go, I know I left him out here. Like, where is he? Just give me one clue. Like just a crotch, just a random crotch left in the yard. I knew that guy was in the yard and never found him.
Yeah. No, I totally can relate to that. I'm sure I've left a number of them some places. And my brothers used to send them up in rockets.
Oh, yes.
And parachute them down, and I know we lost a few of them there too.
Oh yeah, so. I've talked about this on the show before. I used to strap Estes rockets to the bottom of my Thunder machine. Originally, I wanted to put it into the thruster, but if you remember, it wasn't a cavity; it was a flat. Do you remember the Thunder machine, the Dreadnoks Thunder machine?
Yeah, of course.
The jet engine wasn't cavernous. It was a flat piece of plastic, and then it had a round separated end cap that you would pop onto it to make it look like it was a tube, but it wasn't. But my brain was like, okay, how do we do this? And underneath the chassis, the way it was molded, there happened to be the perfect size slot to just tape an Estes rocket to the bottom of it. So you got the same effect, and it was awesome.
That's like Mythbusters or something.
Yeah, it was great. I also absolutely wanted to put 2 onto the Sky Striker and see what would happen with that. But I knew that would destroy the Sky Striker. I knew that would just one shot and that thing would absolutely, because it was already that was a pretty fragile toy, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think. Yeah, the parts you want to save on it. We've got an old beat up one my daughters play with in our backyard, and the chassis still holds up really well.
Mm-hmm. For me, the front landing gear, I guess it would be like the fork, the white piece that was covered it, that like it was a real small, like looked like an upside down, like a U. That little square that popped over the front of the front landing gear. That's one of those tabs snapped way, way, way early in my ownership of the Sky Striker, and that immediately got my flag up to take care of that toy. So I was immediately super protective of it because I could never get that thing to stay in anymore.
Wow. Yeah.
But I also learned an early lesson when I was younger than that with G.I. Joe, or not G.I. Joe, with Mego toys. I had the Mego Bat Cycle in the 70s. it was great, but it wasn't designed to go down your staircase at home, even on carpeting. Like, I don't know why I thought that would work, but literally day one, like Christmas morning, I was like, all right, let's send this off a jump, and it immediately snapped in two and was broken for the entirety of my ownership. We could never super glue it enough, or yeah. So early lessons in toy maintenance.
Oh, you learn it, yeah.
Now, you did show me, so you've got some of the new stuff, and you showed me you've got the new Snake Eyes, right?
Right.
And what do you think of him? How does he look?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, the articulation on him, I met up with my friends Dan and E last week in Dan's garage because we were social distancing, of course.
Awesome.
And just playing with him, and like he's got the chest cut, his waist bends, like you can totally get in many John Woo like jumps and stuff. So I got him from my local comic book store on a whim because they didn't have him up for pre-order anywhere. Just the regular version, just the special edition.
Mm-hmm.
And I called the comic book store. I was like, "Hey, are you guys getting in the 6-inch shows?" And they go, "Yeah." I go, "Can you save me one of the extra Snake Eyes?" And they said, "Yeah." And I popped in there 2 weeks ago, and they had it. And I was like, "Oh," but I mean, he's amazing. And then I ordered some new guns because the guns he comes with are not realistic-y.
Oh, okay.
They're kind of like they're not horrible, but they're not like realistic. But there's a guy doing a Kickstarter for Action Force, which is like a GI Joe takeoff line.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And he's making weapons. So I got some weapons. I ordered some weapons from there.
Fun
with my order there. So my Joes will be outfitted with more realistic weapons versus those lasery guns.
I just got so far I've got Roadblock, Scarlet, and Duke that came from and listeners, let me put a little warning out there. Don't order them from Amazon because they were shipped in just their raw boxes in a bubble mailer.
Oh my
is correct. Scarlet luckily arrived, and I'm not super anal on it, so
yeah.
As far as, but like Scarlet arrived fine. Duke arrived where it's obviously he had been smashed, but it was enough to get like I could live with it, like without going through the hassle of a return. I could live with it and kind of popped it back in place. But Roadblock, the first Roadblock arrived with a nice slit down the top, probably from when someone opened the box, and you don't notice that. So I sent him back, and then the second Roadblock arrived completely smashed, like someone had absolutely stepped on the box. And so finally on the third try, I finally got a Roadblock that is reasonable. So wow. Heads up, guys.
They got extreme shipped, you might say.
Yeah, they did. They were extremely shipped. So, and then I got my Destro and both Snake Eyes. I ordered them through Hasbro, and so I have not. Did you get yours through Hasbro?
No, I ordered through Walmart.
Okay.
If I was using PayPal, and Hasbro wouldn't let you do a pre-order using PayPal, so I ordered through Walmart. But Walmart's supposed to not be shipping them until July, so I'm just sitting and waiting. But yeah, I got like I said, I got Snake Eyes, and someone else picked up the other 5 figures because
the Snake
Eyes. I
was
was doing the comic store,
and my brain just blanked. The Snake Eyes you got, is it the regular one or the deluxe one?
The regular, so he's all black.
One. Okay, yeah.
So the deluxe one who had like a grayish brown wash on his pants or something.
Oh,
but he came with like a million weapons.
Yeah, he's got a whole dojo full of weapons.
Yeah, this one's all black. Just a couple. He's got a weird little red dot right above his visor, which I don't know why. And then
I can't wait. And I know as of this recording, just a couple days ago, they announced. Obviously, we knew they were going to do a Cobra Commander, but they finally released the images of it. I know there was a pre-sale on a few sites for versions of him, so that's exciting. I think they all look great. I think.
He looks awesome. But one of the guys I posted on our local Arizona toy group, Arizona Desert Vipers, and one of the guys on there, Ryan, commented that the gun reminded him of a fish. And then once he said that, it popped in my head that I don't know if you know that scene from Monty Python where I think it's Eric Idle and John Cleese are dancing back and forth and hitting each other with fish. That just popped in my head, and now I can't unsee that.
Well, I think that's the trend with these toys, because Roadblock's quote unquote gun doesn't look like any type of gun that I've ever seen. It looks like a giant modified laser. And I think doesn't and my Duke is sitting, I can see him, but he's sitting too out of arm's reach. He only just has like a handgun, right?
I thought he came with a rifle.
Does he have a rifle?
But it was like a laser looking. It's almost like they meant to do, and the Snake Eyes guns on the regular one are guns, but they're not. You can't make out what they're supposed to.
Right, and I think that's necessary. It's just it's just the more it happens, you're going to end up with weird looking guns.
Yeah, it feels like we're missing animation or some story as to why they're and it's okay to embrace like that we're fighting laser guns or something.
Man, I still they need to do a Call of Duty style game for G.I. Joe and just use lasers and find a way to where you're not make it so it's not super gory, and like if you're in a plane, everyone gets a parachute, like stuff like that. Like follow some of those rules, and I don't, with all the Call of Duties and Battlefield games that have been out there, the fact that the only G.I. Joe stuff is like fan modded is really crazy to me. It seems like a license that they should just do a DLC on and say this is the G.I. Joe pack.
Yeah, that'd
People
be awesome.
would lose their minds on it.
Have you played the mobile game, the G.I. Joe one?
Yeah, I have.
That one's a lot of fun. Yeah, that one's a lot of. I'm strangely addicted, but because I've been working from home and not working now, I've been playing way too much.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm in the G.I. Joeberg team.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm on the What's on Joe Mine team.
Oh, nice. Yeah, those guys are great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. I went like a couple weeks during the recent world uproar forgetting to play it. And I went on, and my base had been attacked so many times, like I dropped down a tier and everything.
Oh, wow.
So now I've rededicated myself to get back up to where it was.
Well, I've probably attacked you, most probably.
Oh yeah, no, sure. I've totally had people reach on there and like, is this Joe from Joe and Joe? And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, is that your name is Joe? Okay, I'll look.
Yeah, the name is Joe and Joe. Yeah, it's Joe and Joe Pod. Okay. I started my own team briefly, and then I realized I'll just go on the Joeberg guys. It'll be easier.
There you go.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun though. There's almost too many choices with too few options to use them.
Yeah, I'm at level. I'm about to get to level 20 as a character, and like you're kind of maxed out. I'm at the top battle tier, like because I've been playing way too much, but I haven't spent any money on it. It's oddly addicting, and then they made it harder.
Yeah,
like just recently, and so you get frustrated, but it's good because I shouldn't be kicking everyone's butts.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll get my tail handed to me a number of times. But if you ever see, I'm Cardinal on there.
Cardinal, so. Okay, yeah. I've recently been enjoying playing the tactic of taking over or destroying all of the opponent's surface to air missiles.
Yeah,
and just knocking all that out, and then just letting one of my air units just decimate everything.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
Yeah, that's really all you got to do. If you can get all those knocked out, then you just send in whatever airplane you got and clean up. Yep. And
I really want that X-wing helicopter now. What's that? The cross. What's it called? Look.
I don't know. As we're recording this, I know they're doing the blowtorch Manta thing. I do like that. I do like that they just keep rolling into. It's like event after event after event. They just always, there's always an event coming on, which is smart.
Yeah, it bummed me out. I did not get I've gotten most of the secret. I didn't get a Cover Girl when they did Cover Girl recently.
Oh yeah, I don't think I have Cover Girl. There's only a couple I don't have. I sided with G.I. Joe early on, so I spent a little bit of money early on just to kind of get up to speed, and I spent most of it on G.I. Joe. So my G.I. Joe side is much stronger than my Cobra side. Like I don't have Cobra Commander, I don't have Zartan. Yeah, I have like Destro, Mindbender, and Baroness, and those are and Storm Shadow, and those are like the only like characters that I have. But on G.I. Joe, I've got I think almost everybody.
I really like
quietly. Doc is so important to have.
Oh really?
Yeah, because
she hears everybody.
Yeah. You just let her loose and let her go. And she, quietly, Doc's great.
Maybe I should start using her. I've been running around. Oh, it's the helicopter is the Skystorm.
Oh, right.
But my Joe squad, because a lot of people now put those surface air missiles out on the water, so Storm Shadow can't get them and stuff, and Tunnel Rat can't get them. So my current lineup that I run around with a lot is Scarlet, Beachhead, Bazooka, Snake Eyes, the Mauler. But maybe I'll substitute once that blowtorch event's over. Maybe I'll substitute Doc in and see how I do.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The mistake that people make when they put him on the water is if they put a gun next to it, all you got to do is take it over with Scarlet, and then their own gun will destroy their own turret while their own turret is knocking off your airplanes. If they isolate them, it's much harder to knock them all out because you gotta work harder to reach them because you only have so much stuff. But if there's the enemy's own weapons next to them, you can do some damage.
Definitely.
Well, I like this G.I. Joe battle tactics. So Adrian, Extreme. Let's talk G.I. Joe Extreme.
Okay.
Were you into this at all? Did you see any of these when you were a kid?
Absolutely not. I remember going to the comic book store when issue 155 came out, right? 155?
Yeah, 55 was the last one. Yep.
And then bummed out. This was the last issue. I clearly remember being bummed, and then seeing this Dark Horse G.I. Joe Extreme and I flipped through it. And I think I looked at the first page and said, what is this? And put it down and walked away. I knew there was a cartoon, but I never watched it. And
a tear rolled from your eye.
Yeah.
It was that shot from Spider-Man 50 where the comic book is half in the garbage can. You're slinking down an alley, very sad because it's not the G.I. Joe you love.
Yeah. My only exposure is I like the idea of having another faction to fight G.I. Joe, because I think if G.I. Joe only fights Cobra, one of the two is very incompetent.
Right.
Or both, because you can't never defeat your enemy, you know?
Right.
So I like this idea of having another faction. I picked up from the Collectors Club, the Iron Claw and the Steel Raven. And
ooh, so good. Yeah, so we've talked about Steel Raven for the last 2 weeks, she was debuted in last week's episode. And on Joe and Joe the week prior, I did her file card because I knew that she was coming up. And what an awesome character. I'm in love with her, and I can't wait to see more of her. And that action figure looks great.
Yeah, I just heard your last episode this morning while I was hiking. I live right next to a mountain, so I listen to podcasts when I hike, and I heard you talking about Steel Raven. I listened to your last episode 3 hours ago.
Yeah, we had no idea who that was.
Yeah.
And with the amount of zero research that I do for the show beforehand, I do. It's funny. I do more research as I'm editing it because I want to make sure things are right. And I'm always like, maybe if I prep more. Mm-hmm. But that's the charm of the Joe on Joe show. That's what I like to think.
Well, yeah, and I heard you put in that whole thing about DC leaving, and now.
Oh yeah. Well, that was just a matter of that was just literally the all that stuff with DC and Diamond that all changed so quickly that I was listening. I'm like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, let's just cut this out and move on because DC is hot to shake things up, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know what
they're
doing.
I don't know that they know what they're doing, but okay, yeah. But listen, while you're out there, while you're on the internet looking up, what was her name? Steel Brigade?
Steel Raven.
Steel Raven. While you're looking up Steel Raven, listeners, and you're on the internet, make sure you go to Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and follow me at Joe on Joe Pod. If you also want to be a guest like Adrian MacCarthy here from Phoenix, Arizona, you feel free to drop me a line at joeonjoepod@gmail.com. We'll get you set up and hooked up, and we'll get you recording. We'll get you on the guest as a show. And Adrian, let's be real here. The real perk of the show is I gave you access to all the episodes of Extreme. You got that Google Drive link now.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching them now because the one episode I saw, the animation's really good. The story's not bad.
This episode is really good. Last week really was my favorite episode so far. This week is a real close contender to it. It's also a two-parter, which is exciting. This episode is great. It is called, listeners, today we are watching Coup of the Klaw. And it's the first part of a two-parter that goes into the end of the season. So this is episode 12, and then episode 13 was the end of the first season. And it's about Klaw, Dark Klaw making his move. And like taking over, right? Like,
yeah,
this is it. This is like the culmination of the entire season, which is really, really cool, especially for cartoons back then that weren't necessarily. It wasn't common for shows to build up like this. So I adore that this has like a two-parter to end the first season of 13.
So this was the season finale.
No, there was one more after. There's a 13th episode. Yeah. And I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know how much they wrap it up. If they're like, we'll see next week. If it's wrapped up like they didn't, like if they knew they were doing a second season, so here's a cliffhanger, or maybe they wrapped it up to where if it was done, and people would be satisfied with it. I'm not sure yet, but this episode's really, really good.
Yeah. Well, I had watched it before. I had just watched it right before I got on with you, and my daughter Kaylee was watching it with me, and I took her to go see Infinity War back when that happened. This has a very similar ending.
Yeah.
To Infinity War, and she still hasn't seen Endgame because
because Infinity War was so bleak.
So she's just left with everyone's done.
You're scarring your child.
Yes. And now we just watched this episode, and then I got on with you.
No, that's great. Well, I'm excited. So listeners, if you've got this episode handy, get ready to click play on it. Adrian, are you all ready to go here?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Listeners, thanks for listening, and get ready with that episode because here we go. Yeah, so we don't have we don't have an opening. We don't have a live action opening for this, which is disappointing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that could be, to be honest, that could just be a function of these bootleg videos. One of the real hopes that I have during this resurgence of G.I. Joe, which I think we're going to talk about a lot more throughout this episode, is I hope they remaster these and clean them up and do a proper, DVD Blu-ray release of them, or at least make them streamable on, from the website or something. I think this is, now almost nearing the end of the first season. I think this is a well-earned chapter in the history of G.I. Joe. I'll go on records. I think it's maligned for reasons that aren't its fault. Because it's not the G.I. Joe that's amazing. So we get Coup of the Klaw, written by Matthew Edens. But just because it's not a real American hero doesn't mean that it doesn't have its own merits. And I would love to see them kind of embrace this a little bit, especially because they have brought these characters into other versions of it. So let's see the origins of them,
Yeah.
Yeah, and these copies that we have that we're watching on this are pretty janky,
But it's still good.
Oh my God! Look at the size of that guy's head. Look at this. Oh my God!
The tiny head.
Did you see the tiny head on that guy? So we're at the Capitol, actually. And we're at the Senate floor. I feel like it's meant to be some kind of UN thing, but it's the floor of the Senate. And Count Von Rainey, who we all know is Dark Klaw, is there to address the House of it's the House of the Senate. He's there to address the Congress.
Mm-hmm. Or even they make note of it that he's Von Rainey. They think Von Rainey's Iron Claw.
Right, the Joes do, but they don't have proof. And this is so weird. He comes off with orange juice for everyone to celebrate in a toast. So of course G.I. Joe thinks that he's going to poison everybody. Stone does, and this is great. Now he also says leaders of the free world. So again, that was the Capitol building.
Mm-hmm.
But it was totally the Capitol building, but they're treating it like it's the UN. So either A, they just did it because who cares, or B, in this future, the UN is disbanded. There is no UN. You know what I'm saying? Like the UN has moved to the United States Capitol.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe.
So as Stone was trying to stop everyone from drinking the orange juice, Cobra attacked, and they attacked. Who was it? It was well, they've got the robot soldiers, which I always forget what those are called, and Wreckage was there, and Wreckage burst through, and very very coolly and calmly, Count Von Rainey ducks into the other room, so we know that he's going to come back as Iron Claw. Yeah, I think I've been saying Dark Claw all episode again. I've got Batman on the brain today.
I'm not running. You can't continue to be the leader of a free world if you become Scar's prisoner.
Yeah, so the president, like, he doesn't want to run, but the Secret Service is like, get out of here. Just a lot. I mean, normal. This is a cool. This is great. This is very much. This is an action movie about, this is like, what is it? White House Down, or what's the?
Oh, yeah. Angel's Fallen.
Angel is Fallen. Yeah. All those Fallen movies.
Yeah.
That's what this is. This is the government getting attacked by Scar. And they take all these people hostage.
Is Wreckage missing an eye?
What's that?
Is Wreckage missing an eye?
Yeah.
Too?
Yeah. Isn't he always missing an eye? Isn't that normal?
I don't know. This is the first time I've ever seen him.
I think he does. I think he always misses an eye. Let me.
I mean, I can see the dark shadowing when you talked about that before. All the dark shadows, which really works.
Yeah, it really is. It's a smart move to hide the budget. You know what I mean? The if they can't pay to animate everything super great, use a lot of shadows to hide it, and it's not the best looking aesthetic, but it really hides the. Let's see, Wreckage. Yeah, Wreckage. He's always had an eye patch.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's
so now
Iron
we
Claw.
So now Iron Claw's here, and he gives his ultimatum. Oh, it's like, and sure enough, they're right. The orange juice was tainted. And look at these dudes; they're like zombies.
Yeah, it's weird.
That is so great. That's a speaking of Batman, that's a Joker kind of move.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, and we should say we've got Stone, Black Dragon, and
Quick Strike.
Yeah, those are the Joes that were doing the protecting. So they're like the main characters in this one.
If he carries out his threat against them, the whole world.
And that's Clancy, right?
Just give the word, sir.
The guy sitting in the chair, that's Clancy, I believe. I don't think that's the Secret Service guy again. I think that's Clancy, the Joe's liaison. Obviously, must have been named after Tom Clancy.
Now, when I watched this the first time, I thought this would be a perfect time when the president's talking about how they're behind the line on everything. Mm-hmm. That would have been perfect time for Stone to go, that's how we like it. I kept thinking that.
You're not wrong.
You should have said that. We're going to lose. Everyone's against us.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
An order extorted under threat isn't a
and then Quick Strike reminds me of Milli Vanilli.
Yeah, he does. He does have a little Rob and Fab in him. He absolutely does.
So this island, is that Gilligan's Island?
This is it's G.I. Joe Island.
But it's shaped like Gilligan's with the lagoon and.
Is that what Gilligan's Island was shaped like?
I feel like it was. It had the lagoon and the when they did that scene, I was thinking, I think that's Gilligan's Island.
We're gonna Google this. Gilligan's Island. Let's see, overview. Let's see if we can see what. Well, I just get a lot of pictures of.
Ginger.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and here's a rescue from Gilligan's Island, but it's a side image. Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I need a speaking of 60s programs, randomly and out of nowhere, I need to admit and come clean about something. In the last 2 days, I've watched both Scooby-Doo, the live-action movie, and the live-action Scooby-Doo sequel, Monsters Unleashed. I'm here to say I enjoyed them.
Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts. And you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie. It's about not two movies. It's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben. And each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. It's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Pensarga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out one episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show.
We watched the second one. We watched Monsters Unleashed, part of it up at, we went to Lake Havasu a few months back. It was on TV. We watched it with the girls, but I don't know if I've seen the first one.
You know what?
Bad.
Yeah, they weren't as bad as I expected them to be. I never saw them because they looked terrible. And certainly there's issues. But I can't say that I didn't sit there and enjoy what I was watching, because I like Scooby-Doo from back in the day. I enjoyed them. Gotta be honest. They weren't terrible. I get what they were doing there.
The new one's pretty fun if you haven't seen that one.
Oh, Scoob? No, I haven't seen that yet.
And
And
it's got a lot of Hanna-Barbera characters in it.
Awesome. And yeah, I watched it on HBO Max, and then I did then actually just go back and start watching old school Scooby-Doo, and they're so great. They're awesome. They're so good. So now, basically, the Scar Army, they're rolling on Washington.
Don't make me
Or it's actually the Army.
Yeah.
Under
Dum Dum
command of
Dugan.
Scar. Yeah. So G.I. Joe is going up against the Army. That the Army is being ruled now by Iron Claw and Scar.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. This is Worlds Without End style stuff.
Yeah.
And and what was that other? There was that other awesome Sunbow episode where it was a two-parter as well, where this happened, but it wasn't Worlds Without End. It was do you remember? It was what was that?
The Synthoid Conspiracy?
Yes, it was. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, where the cliffhanger was Mutt getting cornered and chased down the alley and all that stuff. Yeah, that's what's happening here. This is total Synthoid Conspiracy stuff.
Yeah, bad guys win.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
of Iron Claw.
So now here we go. Yeah, the president is.
I have been forced to turn over all important transportation and communications facilities across the country.
Wow.
To ensure
Iron Claw
safety,
just takes it
all
over.
citizens are
The Statue of
urged to
Liberty.
cooperate.
Okay, what are they going to do to this now? Oh, they're just.
Me that if we cooperate, violence will be avoided.
Oh, I feel like if you're gonna have the drones,
Of the Pentagon.
like if you're gonna use the Statue of Liberty as backdrop, I want those drones to like remodel the Statue of Liberty. You know what I mean? Like it's a cartoon.
So is that
just,
War Machine?
yeah, well, it looks like War Machine. No, that's Rampage. That's the guy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the guy who's like he hulks out,
Oh, okay.
but he's
Yeah.
also in a War Machine office. He's like Iron Man and the Hulk rolled into one. He's fun though.
Oh.
He's a fun character.
Yeah.
And so now this random blonde girl is frightened.
Yeah.
And
I
that
took off the
person's
glasses.
they're so floored by this they had to take their glass. Meanwhile, if I were to like take my glasses off every time I saw something frightening on the news, I'd never be able to watch the news.
Here's the rest of the Joes. Yeah.
And here we go. Now the Joes are on the loose. And let's be real. How many reboots of G.I. Joe have we seen in the last, let's say 20 years since this episode that have been this episode? Right?
Yeah. No, this is retaliation.
Yeah, right? Isn't this
About
what
the flags,
it's
G.I. Joe
retaliation?
retaliation.
Isn't this what G.I. Joe Renegades was about?
Yeah.
Like this is it. And I guess technically it goes back to the Synthoid Conspiracy. But
Yeah.
this predates all that other stuff too. So this
now
is
here the
yeah.
island's moving.
Oh, yeah. I think it's an artificial island.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, I think it is an artificial island. But yeah, cartoon trains at times are always weird. That's the other thing. G.I. Joe typically operates in Europe. So if my brain, G.I. Joe in this iteration, if my memory serves, this might be the first time they're operating on U.S. soil.
Wow.
Yeah. And here we go. Tanks rolling down Front Street. And that APC looks just like the toy APC.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely looks just like that. That's great. And
No,
what it's
dope.
happening is Black Dragon basically hijacked a tank and is driving it around. So they have to rescue Stone. Stone's been captured by Wreckage and this general.
Cover the approaches to the city, General. No one.
Who,
And
you
the
know, I
general-
feel bad for the general. Like, he can't be
Yeah.
happy about this. He
Right.
knows he's in a bind.
He looks like Dum Dum Dugan from Nick Fury.
Totally looks like Dum Dum Dugan. Absolutely does.
Like the Scar Troopers look pretty cool.
Yep. Black Dragon's infiltrating. Are they? They're at the they're at the Washington Monument, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. It's all in every time stuff like this happens where they take over, like in a city like New York or Washington or something. It's always the monuments that they take over. They never just like hole up in a nice diner. That island is way moving. They never like hole up in a diner on 5th Street, you know? Like it's always
Well,
we're
What's
gonna
the
set up.
strategic advantage
Yeah.
of the Washington Monument?
Yeah.
We can find a chink in Scar's armor. Find a way
So
to stop
Clancy
them so
is
you
going
can
to get the
countermand
president
order.
out of the White House. And they're too late because there's Iron Claw. He's at the door. It's shades of Superman 2, General Zod taking over.
Totally.
New headquarters, the Oval Office,
New before Iron Claw.
from which I was
So,
picked to
Adrian,
rule.
have you seen literally I think it was just yesterday actually that they launched it, GIJoe.com.
Yeah, I perused the website. It was awesome. They
Yeah.
got all the different things up. They're promoting the War on Cobra, the new movie. They got
Mhm.
all the new. They got the figures, but they got more than just what's being released.
Yeah, I think those are teases as to where the lines are going. And in the same week, I mean, this is a big watershed week for GIJoe. They've also product listings leaked for Canada, and then it was verified coming to America of a retro line.
Yeah.
So they're doing O-rings?
I don't know. That's what I wonder too. Are they going to go back to O-ring? Or are they going to do the modern figures? Or are they going to do more like?
I'd love O-rings. I'd love a legit retro
Yeah.
line. Yeah. I wonder what production wise, is it cheaper now to do them the modern way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know the 6 inch is supposed to be cheaper to make the 6 inches than it is supposed to be to make the 3 3/4 inch.
Oh, really?
Just like for production, like there's more return, more profit. From what I understood, there's more profit.
Because they can charge more.
You charge more and it costs. They're just making the $1.
Yeah. So earlier on today's episode, you mentioned your friend Dan, and let's talk about him for a little bit because that is a guy. It's not just a friend of yours named Dan. It's a guy that a lot of listeners would know. Tell me who that is.
Dan Klingensmith Jr. He's got he's got 7 books now. It's he's changing the name. Or he's changing the name, but it's creating G.I. Joe is what he's going to be changing the name to. But it's called 3 3/4 Joe, and it's all about the production of the G.I. Joe, the 3 3/4 inch Joes that we know and love. Like, and it's full of all kinds of information. Like if you didn't like, they've got like character designs in it. Like at one point, one of the ones that always caught me was Major Blood was drawn as a half man, half woman.
For
the
real?
bats
That was
with-
one of
yeah.
really.
Yeah, you've got to check it out.
Oh, wow.
It's just all this crazy stuff. Like Snake Eyes look totally different. Just there was one point, Storm Shadow, and I wish I had the books in front of me. Storm Shadow at one point almost looked like a Russian, like a Russian with a big beard and a bald head. And
Wow.
like it's just the early concepts and then how they went through it. And he did them with his first 4 he did with Kurt Bazigian, who was the product manager of G.I. Joe back in from 82 to I want to say 86, 87. And then he left, he came back and left and came back. But he interviews him and does a lot of stuff with him. He has a lot of interviews. And now Dan's doing a podcast or video cast with Kirk, and their first guest was Vinny Dale. I can't think of his name, but he's actually the guy Cesspool is based on.
Oh, great.
So he's actually the first Vinny DeLevo. It's the Toy Files.
Oh, that's
videocast
awesome.
Podcast.
That's
so he's
fantastic.
doing that with him. Yeah. So that's something to go check out.
Yeah,
That's-
listeners, absolutely check that out. Well,
So
that's
Dan's
great.
got a whole lot of stuff going on. I've been to. Have you ever gone to the SoCal Joe show?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, Dan and I were there last May. We were possibly going this May, but of course, everything happened. But we were there last May, and we were right next to Morgan Lofting and Buzz Dixon and Jack. I can't think of his name. He played Dowtone.
Nice.
But
yeah,
we were right in there.
Morgan's great.
Take him to the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. 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 That's really cool. Well, tell Dan. I know, and originally you and I were communicating about it, about maybe getting him on the show. But tell Dan I'd love to have him on the show, and we'll talk more Joe. But that's great. And I'm perusing his site now. Those books look amazing.
Yeah.
And it is creatinggijoe.com, listeners, if you want to check that out.
Yeah, and it's got so much, and he's barely even gotten through it. He showed me pictures of Destro hasn't been featured yet, but Destro originally was going to be called Warlord, and
he hasn't even gotten to. He's got 6 volumes out, and they haven't even hit Destro yet. That's wild.
Yeah, well, he's the way he told me, he's got his A-list character, Snake Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to put everybody in the first book,
right? Of course, yeah.
The first book. So he's got, it's spaced out, and he's got his tiers. So like Snake Eyes is in one book. He hasn't done Flint except for Eco Warriors Flint yet.
Ooh.
And that's my favorite.
That's a rough. That's a rough look. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a massive Flint fan. That Eco Warriors is a rough look.
So he said he's got Flint coming in one of the future volumes. But
cool, man. Now looks like he's got 6 volumes out. Do you know how many he's planning on doing?
I feel like he told me. I mean, the original when I first met him, he was doing like one giant book, but he keeps adding stuff and more stuff comes out. So I feel like he told me maybe 12 is his plan.
That's amazing. Well, they look fantastic.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, Dan, well done. Well done. And I'm probably going to seek them out in the next few months or so. For sure. Yeah. Back on the show, we're actually getting a lot of action right now. So it's not a ton of plot, but it's a really cool fight scene. So first there was a giant tank battle across the river, probably the Potomac. And now the Washington Monument has just gotten knocked down. And I think it was primarily the Joes who knocked it down because they knocked it on top of wreckage.
Today's file card features on the G.I. Joe member and ex-Scar member, Quick Strike. His real name is Rando Bama. He's from Black River, Jamaica, and he served in the U.S. Army as a recon operative. Now, Quick Strike defected to the Joe team after the death of his brother Jonathan. This was depicted in the Point of Honor episode. And Quick Strike blames Iron Claw for Jonathan's death, and so he became a lifelong hatred for Iron Claw and all things Scar. So now he's teamed up with Lieutenant Stone and the Joe team. Now, they respect Quick Strike's ability, but they don't actually trust him for quite some time. It wasn't until he led a successful mission that faced him off against Iron Claw, and he chose between Scar and G.I. Joe, that he became a fully trusted member of the G.I. Joe team. Now, Quick Strike never had an action figure, but I'm seeing a lot of custom figures that were made for him, and he looks great. He's got these brilliantly huge dreadlocks. Most of the time they give him a beret, so he's got that Stalker feel to him, especially that later generation Stalker. And then you add in that Mercer level of, do we trust him, do we not trust him? I like him. I kind of like him a lot. He's got the very, very 90s round, tiny sunglasses, but it works for him. And some of these customs I'm seeing are really, really great. And that's all there is. I like him. Quick Strike's very cool. He's got a lot of personality. I think he's one of those attempts for the show to internationalize it by bringing in someone who wasn't just straight American. They made him Jamaican, so that was very cool as well. So, Rando Bama, Quick Strike, we salute you.
Where are these?
The Scar robots, because the Joes were there rescuing Black Dragon, and Black Dragon was there to rescue Steel.
Mm-hmm.
So now,
all we could save was the Thunder and Fury. Well, that gives us
so they got a few vehicles.
Yeah, and they're I'm sorry, I missed. Joe Island's gone. They lost Joe Island. Yeah, I buried the lead there. They lost Joe Island. So now the Joes are just these dudes. It's the whole team left, but they're it looks like they're maybe, is that Arlington maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but they're at a cemetery. There's the Eternal Flame, so I'm assuming that's Arlington.
Yeah.
And it ends with like the flame being reflected in Sarge Steele's eyeball, and and that's it. So this episode ends with them dead. Now we're rolling into a PSA, and it's the PSA we've talked about before, where the kid drowns, or they're practicing terrible boat safety, and all the kids are going to drown, and here comes Harpoon. But that's a bleak episode, Adrian.
Yeah, that is, and I watched that with my 8-year-old. She was sitting there watching it, and the bad guys won, and it goes to this.
Yeah,
and she was just kind of sitting there looking at me, and I'm like, "It's okay. We'll see the next one."
Yeah, it's okay, and don't drown. Learn how to swim. Wear a life preserver. That is super bleak. I think it was great. I really liked it a lot, like a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it was a great episode, and then we talked over the montage fight scene.
Yep.
And you could tell it seemed like they were supposed to be speaking in there.
Yeah, with all these montages, it has to be. Yeah, yes, it has to be a either cost cutting or time saving or something like that. I don't know if they like originally planned on it each episode. It really makes me wonder if they, when they were originally planning out and animating all this stuff, if they thought maybe they had, I don't know what the number would be. Let's say they thought they had 23 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then when the show was booked, they're like, no, you only have 22 minutes. So they had to squeeze like a minute of stuff in, you know? Because when
it's going, it goes a little, it seems like it's moving a little quicker too.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if that actually was the case. And maybe what I would think is maybe when we get to season 2, if we no longer see those montages, and that would be why, because the second season of production, they might have known what the limitations were. Interesting. But before we go any further, because that was a great episode, Adrian, we got to get to you. If you could be a member of the Joe or Cobra team, or Scar or Joe Extreme team, or the Dreadnoks, or whomever, who would you be? What would your specialty be? And what team would you be on?
That's a hard one. Yeah, I always lean towards Joe.
Okay.
I'm a very, very unshaven and clumsy and break stuff. So I almost lean towards Dreadnoks.
Okay.
I don't think clumsy is extreme. I think that's just clumsy. Maybe if I broke through walls, I'd be extreme.
Yeah.
So maybe I'd say a Dreadnok.
So you think you'd be a Dreadnok?
I think so.
And what would your specialty be?
That I don't know. Do they need a teacher?
Well, that's the thing. You're a teacher. The Dreadnoks are notoriously stupid.
Right.
So
I think that's even written on their file cards.
Yes, absolutely. So I think you are, like if you're shooting a movie and you have a child actor on set, you have to, they have to have a teacher so this kid gets his schooling. I think Cobra assigned a teacher to the Dreadnoks, and I think that's you.
Okay.
Does that sound good? Because I think I'm in love with that idea. That at some point Cobra Commander was like, "You guys are so stupid. I need to give you a tutor." So now, what would you? I have a couple ideas for your name. Do you have anything that stands out?
Now that you just said tutor, maybe the tutor. I don't know.
I like chalkboard.
Okay. Chalkboard works.
Yeah. Kind of really. Oh yeah. Oh, hold on. It's totally chalkboard, and the chalk are explosive. You carry explosive chalk in the battlefield.
You can throw it at the Dreadnoks.
Yeah.
You can throw it at the Dreadnoks when they're asleep.
Yeah, and you have an overly long, like sharp ruler. Like wrap students on the knuckles with rulers, like that. Like you use that to fight with. Yeah, totally. You're chalkboard.
That makes sense.
I love it. Chalkboard. Welcome to the Joe on Joe team.
Thank you for having me.
And real quick before we go, you mentioned this earlier, but we coasted over it. You're a part of the Arizona Desert Vipers. What is that?
Yes, sir.
And what is that? Give them a plug.
Well, it's our local little collectors group. We try to do meetups. I mean, Arizona, it's hot, so it's a little hard to meet outside all the time. And then, with the current Corona situation that we're in, getting together's not the best, but we try to get together about every few months and just hang out and talk. I got my my good friends E and Dan and Vocab and Nick, all the other guys there. And then I'm also kind of an honorary member of the Utah Outpost with the Hubbards and my buddy Ed up there. We met at JoeCon, back the last JoeCon, or not the last JoeCon, the JoeCon up in Colorado.
Awesome.
I talked to my wife and let me go there, and because it was supposed to be the last one, and I needed a room, and I got onto his tank and was trying to find a roommate, and met this guy named Ed, and we just hit it off, and he's up in Utah, so we ended up rooming together at the real last JoeCon in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh, that's great.
And we've been just buddies ever since. We're just two peas in a pod, I guess. I don't know
love
what
it. I love that. That sounds fantastic.
So,
and do you guys have like a website or anything if someone's local and in the area want to check you out?
We're on Facebook under Arizona Desert. Yeah, AZ Desert Vipers, and we're just come and join us. I post stuff on there. We try to post stuff. I mean, now that there's more stuff, hopefully we get more excitement, but we went through that lull where there was nothing, and just
well, it's been a dark time for G.I. Joe, but man, the sun is rising, and things are really looking up for G.I. Joe. So I'm very happy to be a part of this fandom at this point in time. So I think we got good things on our horizon. Adrian, thank you so much for being a guest on Joe and Joe today.
Well, thanks for having me, and keep on doing the awesome work you're doing, Joe.
Oh man, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. You did a great job. And listeners, remember, you're out there. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, joeandjoepod@gmail.com. That's my Gmail address if you want to be a guest on the show. And wherever you're listening to this, there's probably a rate and review. So go on that app and give me a rating and give me a review. It always helps. It always helps get some more visibility and grow the show. Adrian MacCarthy, or should I say chalkboard, now you Joe. And Joeing is half the battle. Extreme!